One is all. When you see colors, there are many. When you see clarity, there is one. When you see waves, there are many. When you see water, there is one. When you see reflections, there are many. When you see the mirror, there is one. When you name things, there are many. When you do not name things, there is one. When you discern, there are many. When you do not discern, there is one. When you focus on the body, there are many. When you do not focus on the body, there is one. When you focus on sensations, there are many. When you do not focus on sensations, there is one. When you focus on thoughts, there are many. When you do not focus on thoughts, there is one. When you focus on desires, there are many. When you do not focus on desires, there is one. When you focus on emotions, there are many. When you do not focus on emotions, there is one. When you focus on moods, there are many. When you do not focus on moods, there is one. When you discern between this and that, there are many. When you do not discern between this and that, there is one. When you judge, there are many. When you cease judging, there is one. When you dwell, there are many. When you do not dwell, there is one. When you dream, there are many. When you are awake, there is one.